What's up, everybody? The wait is finally over and totally over. Left at Wall is available now, right now. You can get Left at Wall on Apple TV, Google Play, YouTube Movies. You can get it on demand. You can buy it on DVD. The wait is totally over. Just type in Left at Wall on your search bar on your smart TV, and you can find a bunch of ways to get it. You can watch it now. Again, that's Left at Wall, wherever you get your movies. What's up, everybody? Our play termination fee has 2 performances left. June 24th, which is the date that this podcast drops, so maybe I'll see some of you tonight. June 24th at 9:30 p.m. and June 29th at 3 p.m., ending with a Sunday matinee. You can get tickets and all information at romplacone.com. Termination Fee is a scathing commentary on the American healthcare system. It is being produced in collaboration with Black One Productions and Fringe Management. It features myself, Sarah K. Godot, and Andrew Saxena. Thank you so much to everyone who's come out so far. Your feedback has been amazing, and it's been so cool to see everybody and to have a wonderful Hollywood Fringe season. 2 shows left, June 24th, June 29th. See you soon, Los Angeles. If you're not getting your tickets, do not wait. Get Pay What You Can tickets now, romplacone.com. Episode 93, Kelly Spillman. Kelly Spillman is a psychology professor and comedian. She's also a friend of mine. In 2020, she was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer. She has a show currently running at the Hollywood Fringe Festival called I Blame Florida. The show documents her cancer battle, as well as how she finds meaning and hope in this incredibly difficult struggle. This is an emotional one, y'all. Please welcome to the show, Kelly Spillman. Kelly Spillman, how are you? So good to see you.
Doing great. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I've been excited to have you for a while now. And of course, after seeing your show, really wanted to have you. A show where I laughed very hard and cried pretty hard.
Oh, my goodness. Wow.
Of course. Well, how can you not? I mean, how can you? We're going to get into it. And I want to, dive into it. It'll be, the thing about this interview is I'm going to ask you questions as if I hadn't seen your show.
That's fine.
Like some of the stuff I already know the answers to, but I want you to unpack it for everybody. But so let's start at the beginning. Where did you grow up? And
So I grew up in Jacksonville, Florida, a place I did escape, and throughout my life, most people that I encounter in America or outside of America know nothing about Jacksonville, but that is the city I grew up in.
You want me to? Can I give you a little fun anecdote about Jacksonville? I feel like you might appreciate. Okay, so I've only ever performed in Jacksonville one time, and it was actually at a really cool space. I forget the name of it. And I might not want to say it given the basis of the story anyway, but I do genuinely forget the name of it. We show up to the venue. This is myself and Graham Elwood. We show up to the venue and nobody is there, and it is locked. And we're going, well, this is strange. And we're like, okay, this is definitely a first. And then people start showing up. We had sold about, I think we pretty much sold the place out. It was a tiny little club. And so people start showing up. They're like, hey, guys, why are you standing outside? We're like, well, we can't get in either.
Whoa.
And the best part, and I don't know how this speaks to, but nobody was really fazed by that. Everybody just goes, yeah, welcome to Jacksonville. Who knows?
Oh, my goodness.
The owner might just be hammered somewhere. And so finally, I think the sound guy showed up or something. And we go, hey, do you know what's going on? And he goes, I hate it when this happens. He didn't know we had a thing tonight. Because I guess it's one of those places, if they don't have an event, sometimes they just won't open the doors if they just don't feel like it. So they started, contacting him. And finally, he was at the beach. He was just at the beach. Like you do.
No way. Yeah, that sounds like Jacksonville.
So he shows up. He opens it up for us. We were strategizing on potentially doing an a cappella show outside.
No way.
And, well, we were just like, anyone who waited to get their tickets at the door, you really lucked out tonight. Because we're just going to do Scouts honor. And it was it was
that is so hilarious. And that the owner's chilling at the beach. Wow.
Yeah,
Well, I'm
that
glad
is
you got to
my.
do the show though, and that's amazing that you like sold out a show there.
It was a tiny spot, but yeah, no,
Yeah,
thanks. It
I
was
feel
really
like I
fun.
know which one it might even be because before I moved out to LA 10 years ago, and I did a spot at this cool little place, but it was like on a Monday night at 9 o'clock. And the name escapes me right now, and I
Theater at the
wonder
beach.
if that was the venue. But that wasn't near the beach. It was uh near downtown actually. So anyway,
Oh, we
but
were
I'm
near
glad you got to do
downtown.
it. Yeah,
Yeah, the owner was at the beach,
I
but
bet I guarantee you it's probably the same venue, and it upsets me the name does not come to my mind either because it was a very cool venue if it's the one that I think it is. Did it have like a vibe like musicians play there the rest of the week?
yeah, and it
Yeah.
was a cool spot. It was a
Yeah.
super cool spot, and everybody was super nice. The guy just lost track of time on the beach and kind of
Yeah.
forgot that there was a show. And he was super nice, and he was all apologetic. And we were supposed to, I think we were on an 80-20 split, and he just goes, "Don't worry about that 20%, guys." We were like, "Okay, that's fair." Yeah, so all's well. I mean, it was fine.
That's a nice comedy ending. That could have gone tragically a different way. I like that story.
Could have been a really weird outdoor show.
Yes.
Because I mean, all those people showed up. I'm like, well, we're not gonna like we're gonna figure something out,
right?
But yeah, I mean, I guess that's the one joy of comedy. Really, all you need is attentive hearts and a person who can speak. That's it.
Absolutely.
At the end of the day. All right, so let's start. You got into psychology. We could skip ahead a little bit.
Sure. Yeah, I kind of stumbled into it. I like movies were my life coaches and mentors. So for a long time in college, I really thought I was going to be in the FBI, and that's why I majored in psychology. And then senior year, they would only interview accounting majors at Florida State. So like that whole time, I just assumed, I was going to be in the FBI, and then I didn't even get an interview. And so I kind of was just scrambling. I wanted to move to a big city, and I think it was like $318. And so Atlanta was kind of the closest, biggest city to Tallahassee, Florida. And so I kind of just stumbled into Atlanta. I mean, I hate to admit, I've kind of been just stumbling through life. It's like I had ideas and then I wouldn't make things happen. So I kind of literally stumbled into becoming a psychology professor, but I was good at it and I do love it. And so I have stuck with it for a long time.
So you were at Florida State. You were thinking you're going to go the FBI track.
Yes.
That didn't work out. So you just kind of wanted to get to a major city.
Yeah, that was always the plan. I always and I got to, luckily in 8th grade, take a trip to DC. And I've just loved DC. And I really wanted to move there or New York. And I just always felt that I was a big city person and I had to get out of Florida. And, but again, did not have a lot of information, didn't really know anybody, Florida State was a really big school. So I didn't really learn how to network or do a resume. I mean, I really was just kind of, still to this day, just kind of stumbling through things.
I think you might be the first person I've ever heard out of the sentence, "I loved DC."
I know.
I don't know if anyone's ever said that before. It
breaks my heart to hear because I have been many times since. I would still love to live there. You can take public transportation everywhere.
Yes.
Every suburb, kind of like LA, has its own personality and vibe.
True.
And I love it still to this day. It surprises me, and you are right. Most people are very shocked when I say that, but I think I love that. It's kind of like London, where like most of the museums are free. So you can just pop in for a little while. You don't have to feel obligated to stay. I think it's a visually stunning city. And I've always loved it. Maybe because I was young when I first went there compared to Jacksonville. It was amazing, but I still have a very special place in my heart. They have happy hour where if you go to restaurants, they just have free food out. So I'm just a big fan of DC. I'm telling you, I think it's a cool place and a cool town.
It is a cool place. There's parts about it that I really do appreciate. And like you're saying, you don't have to live. I think if I were to ever live there, I wouldn't want to be in the thick of it. I'd want to be, a metro ride away
For
somewhere,
sure.
like maybe Arlington or something like that. And
Yes.
yeah, no, that's interesting. I just never, a lot of the people I know who live there, they live there because of what's available to them by living there. Like work
Right.
keeps them there, and they don't necessarily love it. They just love what they're able to do by being there. But
My sister, while she was in med school, she took a break, as you do, to get a master's in public health at Johns Hopkins. But her friend let her stay with her in DC. And this always stuck with me as well. My sister said, every person you meet in DC, like, has like this impressive job, or they're working on like these amazing projects. And so maybe I've just completely romanticized it, but because I've always kind of gone more as a tourist, or like my friend lived there for many years, so I would go visit him. But I don't know, I just think that's cool as well. Like, you could just be at a coffee shop, meeting someone that's working on something really amazing, some sort of project, or
well, I think it's like LA too. It's like you
absolutely.
you feed off that energy.
You
Like when
do.
everybody is up to amazing things, you really do feed off of that, and it kind of pushes you.
It
Um,
absolutely does. And that is why I absolutely love LA as well. You are right. That every person you meet is working on usually some sort of really amazing creative project in all sorts of industries. So it's why I love it here.
so you get to Atlanta. Now, was
Mhm.
this pre-grad school, post-grad school, or
Yeah, this is
where are
pre.
we at
So
in the timeline?
I graduate with my psychology degree at Florida State. I have $318 in my bank account because I'd been working on the Florida HIV/AIDS hotline for I think $6 an hour, and I was delivering pizzas for Pizza Hut. And I was just going to move. There used to be like an alternative newspaper there called Creative Loafing, so I was just going to rent a room. And people that were much older than me that worked at the Florida HIV/AIDS hotline, they were very concerned about me just moving to a city where I don't know anyone. And so the guy that used to run the Florida HIV/AIDS hotline in the early 90s had a house in Atlanta. And so someone contacted him and was like, she's this 22-year-old girl. Can she rent a room? Can you help her out? Because we're worried about her just moving. And so he was so nice. He rented me a room for 2 months, which allowed me to get a job, which was being a server at Chili's. Again, I've got this degree. I don't know what to do with it. I wanted to work in like environmental engineering, but I have a psychology degree. So or the CDC. I thought I was going to maybe get to work at the CDC because I really did like working on the Florida HIV/AIDS hotline. And I had talked at a conference. So I thought, but again, I had no skills on how you network, how to do a resume. And so I was a big dreamer, but with no real path to make those types of things happen for me.
I'm not trying to make light of HIV or AIDS, but I will say, as an aside, I think working in STDs and pizza is the most Florida thing to ever Florida.
For sure.
That is the most Florida thing I've ever heard.
Well, and even just like as an artist, like age 19, 20, 21, 22, all my friends were like 50-year-old gay men. It's like as well, like just even like who my friends were in college is not the typical group of friends, for a 19-year-old girl. But yes, I was just talking to my boyfriend about, I had forgotten that we used to get like just even what it was like in the early 90s working on the state HIV hotline. Like,
Yeah.
Just we'd have bored kids doing book reports. It reminded me of COVID, how like people would call in because they thought they could get it from a public bathroom. But then we also dealt with gross men that were calling in, asking, pretending they wanted information, but it was really they were just trying to trick young girls into saying sexual things. And we called them sexual manipulators. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have to tell a story about these sexual manipulators, because a lot of the other girls would cry, but they would really piss me off. So I didn't cry. I would just be like, you need to get mental health treatment. I forget we didn't have this verbiage back then, but I was like, you need to speak to a psychiatrist immediately. This line is to help people, not for you to trick girls into saying sexual things. So it was typical Florida. Yeah. I think I'm helping people. And it was bored 8-year-olds doing, or people with OCD who absolutely did not have HIV, and then these sexual manipulators. So yes, a very Florida thing of how I paid my rent through school.
So you're in Atlanta. You realize that an undergrad in psychology can only take you so far. So you got to keep going.
Yeah, so I did get, I think the newest dream was like, oh, I'll be Oprah. So I got a master's in counseling, and I was going to get a PhD in counseling psychology. And while I was at Georgia State, the year I was graduating, they accepted one person in their PhD program, and they had hundreds of people apply. So I didn't apply. I'm like, I'm not going to be the one. And so now I have a master's in psychology, and I am waiting tables at Rio Bravo with a master's degree. I had done a few counseling jobs, but they also were just, I was a drug counselor for people who were court ordered to treatment. And so it was a nightmare. They didn't want to be there. They just didn't want to go to prison for their third arrest for heroin or crack. And again, I'm a 22-year-old girl who's never touched a drug, trying to get 40 to 50-year-old men to stop doing heroin, meth, or crack.
Wow.
So not qualified to do it. I was not good at it. And so again, I always was this big dreamer and idealistic, but could never find the right path for me.
So when did you go for the PhD? Or
I was going to go for it, and then I just didn't, because they accepted one person. So I was like, I just knew I wasn't going to be the one out of like 400 applicants. And then, I think I was kind of over school at that point too.
So you were able to get into teaching without the PhD?
Yeah, so I have a master's.
Oh, wow.
Nice. It's a long story, and I will not bore you with, but I did have to go back to school to get specific graduate hours in psychology. So I was able to do that at UGA. So I technically right now teach part-time at a university in Pittsburgh, but I have mainly only taught at community colleges, because you can teach with a master's degree.
Yeah, well, I've done that too.
You have?
So I have a master's in communication, and I was gonna. It was it wasn't that hard, but when as I was graduating, I was doing more and more road work with stand up, and so I kind of thought, well, do I want to keep going and get my PhD, or do I really want to take a chance on this dream? And I think I was pretty practical about it at the time, because I kind of thought, well, show business cares what I look like on TV. Academia doesn't. So I think while I'm young, I'm going to take a chance on this dream. And then if it doesn't work out, I'll go back and finish up.
I think that's smart. And my boyfriend, he just got his master's in English from Cal State LA at the age of 58. And so he is now teaching, as a professor, but he's doing that now at 59. So it's not a bad strategy that you have, because unlike other industries, like, you can still be a professor. I mean, no one even thinks twice about somebody in their 60s or 70s, even 80s, still teaching. So I don't think you made a mistake. It's a good backup plan.
Yeah, I mean, hey, that was 2012, and here we are. haven't gone back yet. So
I mean, I hope you don't have to. But it's not a bad backup plan.
Yeah, I mean, I hope that if I ever do go back, it's because I genuinely want to. Which I don't know. Maybe that day will come where I do want to. Unfortunately, the academy might not be a thing much longer. But that's
No, it's very
we'll see what the world has in store. So how'd you get into teaching then? Like you just kind of got a gig at a community college?
Yeah,
Or?
I mean, I wish I could remember the exact details. I feel like it's again stumbled into it. I think Craigslist had an ad, and this tiny little school, technical college, desperately needed someone. And I think they even kind of broke the rules because that was before I had the 18 graduate hours in psychology. And she gave me this one class. I drove 80 miles to teach one class for $1,600 for the semester in 2001. And I loved it. I was good at it. And then that's when she was like, oh yeah, you need 18 hours. So I was able to go to UGA and get those hours. And then I moved on, luckily, to closer schools in Atlanta. And I was just part-time somewhere at Gwinnett Technical College. And again, my boss really liked me. And I probably shouldn't share this, but I was the only one they interviewed for. This does not happen anymore today. Like HR, you have to prove that you interviewed a ton of people and asked the same questions. But I lucked out in 2007. And I believe I'm the only person that interviewed, highly recommended by my boss. And I got that full time. It's very hard to nab a full-time teaching position. You know, I have not been able to do it in Los Angeles, even though I've been teaching for over 20 years and even ran a department for 8. I have not been able to get a full-time teaching job here. They are very hard to get.
Oh, I've looked into just some adjunct stuff over the years.
Adjuncting is
and it's like,
yeah.
I haven't been
even
able to get
adjuncting has been hard.
I haven't been able to get anything. I mean, I've looked into different. I mean, I haven't tried terribly hard to tell you. I mean, like when I first got to town, it was something I was looking into doing because, you know, like before I moved to LA, I was a road comic. So like I immediately just completely not started over, but you know what I mean? Like had basically no income when I moved to LA because I moved to LA to not be on the road anymore. So I just had to, well, what could I do to, you know, pay the bills while I'm figuring out LA? And so I looked into adjuncting and I didn't get anything.
No, I myself, because I would like to get at one more school because cancer is expensive. And I myself, with over 20 years, I have great teaching evals. And 2 of my 3 jobs are out of the state, and California pays much better than, but I myself, I even went in January and spoke to basically every school in California. And I myself have not been able to, I think just, the state of the world, which is going on in your show, termination fee. Like, you know, I think what Trump is doing, the economy, I think colleges are just going low on enrollment until they see, you know, what happens, because they're very afraid he's going to take away Pell Grants. And so this is a tough time even to get a job as an adjunct, in all honesty.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty wild. And so let's talk about what brought you to LA then. You're teaching.
I was teaching. I was running the department, the psychology department at a college. And, the governor there did not give us a raise for 7 years. And I started doing comedy, a stand-up at age 38, which is very unusual. And I was good at it. And it just hit me because I was going to stay in Atlanta and get even better. And Ben Evans, who was the booker at the Laughing Skulls, said, Kelly, you need to move right now to LA or New York, and you can get better there because you have to start over anyway. And it's so weird, but in that, like literally within 5 minutes, because I was 40 years old and I decided in that 5 minutes, okay, I'm going to move to LA or New York. And so I'm so appreciative that Ben Evans, who I wasn't even close to.
Yeah. Why did he say you had to start again? Like what?
He just, that was his opinion, that when you move, it doesn't matter that you were the big fish in a small pond. When you move to LA or New York, it was his opinion, you have to start all over. So he was like, why wait until, you're this major headliner? Because even if you're a headliner in Jacksonville, Florida, and moved to LA, you don't get to start as a headliner in LA or New York. That was his point, and it just really stuck with me. And and for me, I did have to start all over in LA. I mean, I didn't know anybody out here, and it continues to be an interesting experience, because in Atlanta, there was like a real path. Like, you did open mics, then you could maybe host at a club, then you could feature. And so there's this real path as a comedian. But, the shows out here don't have that host, feature, headliner model. Right. And most of them, you have to have TV credits to even get to and so and I didn't know this because I knew nothing about comedy. I just stumbled out here. And also my age, I was 40. And I thought, oh my gosh, maybe that is why he said it to me too, in all honesty. It's like, I was 40 years old. And so when he said that, I had a 100-pound dog. And I'm like, I just didn't think, and I wasn't going to give up my dog. And so I had this image of me, if I went to New York, I was like, because I think one year I did like 445 sets in Atlanta. Nice. One year. Which is, this is what we're told to do.
You can do it,
You can do multiple mics a night. And so I just had this image of me on the subway all night, going from mic to mic. And for me, I was like, I don't know. And then I'm like, how am I going to move a 100-pound dog to New York? So I picked LA. Several comedians told me this is a mistake. Comedians need to go to New York. But I am a big dreamer, and I just moved to LA at 40. And
I think it depends on what you want to do. I mean, whenever people say like, oh, New York or LA, I'm like, well, what do you want to do? Because that all depends. Like I tell people, I'm like, look, if all you want to do is stand up, either go to New York or just stay wherever you're at right now.
Right.
But if you want to do more production stuff, more film and TV, more writing, then go to LA, these days, stay in Atlanta. If you're in Atlanta, stay there.
I know.
Atlanta's got everything now.
It's got everything now. It's true.
So let's get into, more recent times for you and your diagnosis, which is what your show deals with. So time is passing in LA, and one day you get some not so great news.
Correct. So 7 years in LA, and my dream of making it as a huge comedian, I'm still working on. And during COVID, and all the comedy clubs shut down for like 2 to 3 years in LA. During COVID, I was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer. And it, of course, was shocking. It was very scary. Your show deals with this. I had just had a new health insurance policy, and the day it started, I go in and I get diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer on the day my insurance goes into effect. And so this was extremely scary. I didn't have any family history of this. I've never known anyone with colon cancer. I'm literally working 3 part-time jobs at colleges, and enrollment had been way down during COVID. So even that was very shaky. I'd never had a surgery before. I've never been to urgent care before. I've only heard horror stories about insurance companies. So I had no idea. That was the scariest part for me, is like, are they just going to, dump me? Because this, it's my first day on this plan, and I get diagnosed with one of the worst things. So yes, this happened to me during COVID, and I am still, dealing with this.
So how did you find out? Like, what symptoms were you having?
I had what brought me in is I had this weird thing happen where I had this pain in my shoulder and my arm. I've never experienced anything like this in my life. It felt like someone had ripped my arm off. Like, I couldn't move. It was so intense. And then it just went away. And then I did have blood in my stool. And so I made the appointment that day. So I knew something was up, but I didn't know. I mean, those are two really random things. And what's so weird is I'm glad I kept pushing her because the blood work, my liver was just off the charts, bad, and almost like liver failure. And so she kept focusing on that. She thought I had hepatitis or HIV. And I had to keep reminding her, but hey, I had blood in my stool. Like, are you going to do it? And almost as like a sidebar, she was like, oh, I guess, I'll set in a referral for you to go see a gastro, but we got to work on your liver. And so I'm glad I kept pushing that and then it was COVID. So it just took time. I met with him quickly, but to get a colonoscopy during COVID was not easy. So in my 3.5 week wait for the first opening, I had fatigue. Like I was getting sicker, and there was and even I would call him like, there is more blood when I use the bath, and so I do wish I would have been able to get that colonoscopy faster because liver tumors grow very fast and it had spread to my liver. And I do wonder, but you can't focus on the past kind of stuff. But sure. I do wonder in my wait to get the colonoscopy if that made some liver tumors grow. So yes, by the time I got diagnosed, it was all over my liver. My liver was completely covered with tumors with colon cancer, but it's all over my liver. So you don't want that diagnosis. It's not a good one. And so that is what, as you said, my show is about what happens when a big dreamer whose dreams have not remotely come true, essentially is given a death sentence, by her brand new primary care physician. And so, that's what the show's about. So a comedian trying to sell a show about her death sentence has been a unique challenge for me.
Well, and in the show, you kind of go through the, basically the process, like what you went through and yes. all the procedures that you had and the moments of, oh, are we out of the woods? Oh, we're not. You don't have to go into all the details because we want people to see the show, but I mean, you can give like a brief summary if you want.
Absolutely. To be upfront with you, the reason I want to do the show, because I knew nothing about cancer before this happened to me. And so I'm at UCLA, I'm driving around LA. This still bothers me. And there's billboards all over Los Angeles, UCLA, #1 cancer hospital, right? And they tell me there's nothing they can do for me, that your liver's covered. There's nothing you can do. And so luckily I found this group called Colon Town, and they were like, do not accept all you can do is chemo because you can't beat cancer. You can't beat stage 4 cancer with chemo. So luckily through this group, I got a second opinion at City of Hope, and I'm still alive today. Thank goodness, because of City of Hope. So one of the reasons I just want to do my show is because I didn't know this. I thought when you get diagnosed with cancer, wherever you're at, they have everything. And that's absolutely not true. Whatever hospital you end up with, they only have a few things, and that's all they're going to offer to you. They won't even tell you that there's other stuff out there. So, I've really had to do a lot of research on my own to find out, what other treatments are available for stage 4 colon cancer when it's gone to your liver, because it's hard to get rid of these tumors in your liver. And so, yes, I'm also a person who has had surgery, chemo, radiation, and it keeps coming back to my liver, which is not unusual. And so I also, a reason I wanted to do this too is I wanted to show people that, even if you get this bad diagnosis, and even if it's looking like you can't beat it, I'm still a comedian. I'm still a performer. And so I'm still pursuing my dreams. So right now I'm doing it, telling my story, about this bummer diagnosis and how I'm still trying to beat it, but, that I may not be able to. It keeps coming back to my liver. And but I want people to see this. A lot of people, their image of what stage 4 cancer is the movies, you always kind of look like a skeleton and you're always weak in a bed. And I also just want people to see, I'm still a professor. I'm still a comedian. You can still, cancer. I'm hoping people see cancer shouldn't be your only identity. And don't let it steal the other parts of your identity. And that's really important for me to get that message out.
So what has it been like for you to just really come face to face with mortality?
I, like many Americans, I have not really talked openly. I had never thought about my death really at all. And I mean, some might argue, even myself, that I'm probably still in denial. Like I was 47 when I got diagnosed, and I'm like, I cannot die in my 40s. Like this is, I'm still kind of in shock. And now I'm in a support group in LA, and like I will be heading to my 10th funeral next weekend. So I won't say I'm completely in denial. I see what is probably going to happen to me. And it's even hard to explain, and that was another reason I wanted to do my show. And I know it's heavy for a lot of people, but all of us actually are going to die. I know a lame senator was really obnoxious about that statement, but the statement itself is true. And it isn't something I had ever really thought about. I think as a dreamer, I just assumed I was invincible like many others. And so, it is, it's, I don't even know that I can, articulate that it's, and I was sharing with someone, I just did another festival in Atlanta and I loved it because, Atlanta, I lived there many years. And I was telling other performers there, they were like, oh, are you coming next year? And I said, I have an idea for a new show. And I was like, oh, well, if I'm alive, I'll be here. And that probably wasn't what I was supposed to say because people got very uncomfortable. But it's like, it is true. If I am alive next May and June, I do have an idea for a new show, but I may not be alive next May or June. But I stopped saying that because it was making people very uncomfortable at brunch when I'm saying this. But I am kind of matter of fact. I do realize that it's highly probable that colon cancer is probably going to kill me. So I'm aware of it. And it was one of the reasons why I'm doing this show too. Kind of like what Ben told me in Atlanta, like, move to LA now and get better. I was going to wait and do this show next year. But the reality is I may not be alive in June 2026 to do this show at Hollywood Fringe. So it was kind of like, I have to do it this year. It may not be as great as I would like it to be. And I wish I had had more time, but that is my reality as well. Like for these goals I have comedy wise and performance wise, I need to do them now because I really don't possibly have time to wait to do them down the road.
Yeah. Yeah. And, as somebody who, not only did I see your show, but I also was following along in real time on Facebook when you would post your updates. And so, kind of went through that thing like, oh, right. And then, oh, no. Oh, right.
Yes,
oh, no.
I know. And I do feel bad. I have been very open on social media and, it's why I even turned this into a show. I was just doing these jokes at comedy clubs and I was making people laugh. And then I kind of realized like, if someone's on a Tinder date and this lady comes out and says she has a death sentence, even if she's funny, maybe it's not cool to do that. So that's where I was like, let me stop doing this at comedy clubs and let me just put a show together. And that when people walk in, they know it's about this woman with stage 4 cancer. But no, when you're a miracle patient, I had all these really amazing things happen to me on treatment that don't usually happen for people. I did have a lot of people that would check in more. And, this is something else you learn. Like when you do have recurrences, people don't know what to say. And so, and hey, I'm with you. It's a bummer. I have done a lot. I had 80% of my liver cut off. I had this, hockey puck size thing put in my abdomen with a catheter to my I've gone through, I had to do radiation where I had to hold my breath over and over for an hour because if I was breathing, it could accidentally burn another organ. Like, I've been through some stuff to try to beat this only to have it come back. So it is a bummer. I know. And, so I stopped kind of on Facebook doing it too. I started a Caring Bridge. So if people do want to see updates, because maybe that wasn't the best for me to just be for people scrolling on Facebook. Oh, my cancer's back in my liver. But I've just chosen to be very open, about this experience as well.
Well, I think those stories are really important for people. I mean, I think it's important, because, A, like, your friends and family care, and B, it's like just, this is something people deal with all the time.
Right. This is real. And it's interesting because when I was doing jokes about it at comedy clubs, every single time, like, a lot of the comedians were mad that they had to go up after me. So it's another reason I stopped doing it. But every single time, at least one person would come up to me and be like, do you have a video of these jokes so I can send it to my blank mother, sister, husband? All of us know someone, who's had cancer, and many people know someone who died of cancer. So this is real life. And even if you yourself haven't had it, everyone has been impacted by cancer.
Yeah, big time. Well, I mean, it's funny. Well, not funny, but my uncle had an experience similar to you, as far as he had this random pain in his shoulder, and he went in, and by the time they realized, they took a tumor out of him that was the size of a football.
Whoa!
And by that point it was, everywhere. And
right.
he's not with us. This was about 10 years ago or so. But, that just...
And I am sorry about that. And I wasn't able to articulate it because it was kind of turning into a TED Talk. But not to dismiss myself or to be self-deprecating, but I am someone who's kind of just stumbled through life. I don't have an explanation why I'm still here, because what I've learned about cancer is it really takes out amazing people, and it's so upsetting. And there is no explanation why some people, the treatments, can work for. And I learned myself, like, it's crazy that you could be walking around with a football-sized tumor, but, I didn't feel, by the time something happened, for me too, it had already spread. And that's what's so, upsetting about this, because, your uncle didn't do anything wrong. He went in as soon as his shoulder hurt, but unfortunately, it had already spread. So I am sorry to hear about that. And,
oh, well, thank you.
And that is what I have seen. Cancer doesn't really take out shitty people, and that upsets me. It takes out, this is honestly what I've most learned. It takes out impressive, amazing, kind, generous people. And I think it just is so upsetting. So I am really sorry to hear about your uncle.
Oh, I appreciate that. I mean, it was just, and yeah, there were multiple levels of cruel irony, because he had a little bit of trouble getting out of the womb when he was being born, and it kind of his legs, that they didn't. Technology was only so advanced back then. And so he had some problems with his legs, and then they tried to do a corrective surgery, and they made it even worse. So he never really, walked properly ever.
Oh my goodness.
And naturally he was not the biggest fan of doctors because of that. And, but he still went, he still did his blood work. And so there was like just a certain cruel irony that it's medicine let him down when he was young, and then it let him down again in the end.
For sure.
It's not like, oh, I didn't go to the doctor for 40 years. And then, no, he was getting his blood work every year, doing everything. And it just didn't show up. Sometimes it just doesn't show up.
I'm very glad you bring this up because this is something else I've learned that which really upsets me is that people, and I get it, people are scared of this. So they want to think I did something, to make this happen. And, your uncle didn't do anything wrong. And I get it. People want to think like, oh, he must have done something wrong to not know he had stage 4 cancer, or there's something he could have done to get it earlier. And the reality is, no, he didn't do anything wrong. And yeah, I mean, and there's even certain things I keep out of my show because even being heavy now, like I feel like, well, look at her. She's overweight. That's why she has it. And so, that's another thing that just upsets me. Like, not only are we trying to fight for our lives, but we have to try to explain to people that we didn't do, like, people want to know, like, what did you do to get it? It's like, we didn't do anything, to get this. And your uncle didn't do anything wrong. And, and it just makes me sad that you have to even on here say, no, he was getting his blood work, because people want to imply, oh, he must not have been going in. Mm-hmm. That makes me sad to hear that.
So how does doing art help with the pain, or does it?
We all try to look for meaning into things, and I'm not the most philosophical person, but I do wonder if the fact that I've kept performing has kept me alive. Like it makes me try to find the funny in this, American horror story that I'm in. And, like I said earlier, like, I just feel like I'm not going to let cancer take away that I am an artist and I am a creative, and it makes it harder because you get very sick on chemo and it messes up your appearance. And so, but yeah, I think, and what's interesting for me is I've always been a narcissist in my comedy. I've always just talked about what is currently going on in my life. So, of course, this is what I'm going to be joking about, and sometimes, like, I'm doing a show on Thursday and I'm not going to do any cancer jokes, but it kind of upsets me that I'm not going to. But because I'm doing this show for an hour, I'm like, it might be nice to have a 10-minute break from this. But yeah, in some ways, I feel like it's a little insincere for me to 10 minutes do jokes about my life and not address that, one of the biggest things going on is I'm fighting to stay alive. So, but no, I think this helps me. And I will say, like, because I'm in a support group in LA, and like, they all love that I'm a comedian. Someone just forwarded me an email today with a soup recipe that's supposed to, even though in my show I have a joke about this, soup cannot cure my stage 4 cancer. Yet someone again today. So I took a screenshot and shared that, with people in my support group. And then we can all laugh about, how ridiculous it is that people think soup recipes can save us.
One thing I did want to mention, that it is in your show, so you can just share whatever you want to share without giving anything away, or just whatever you're comfortable sharing, but was the work you do with prisoners.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to talk about that. So because, like I mentioned, during COVID, the colleges I taught at all had severe enrollment drops. And so I wasn't getting as many classes, and, cancer's expensive. It's very stressful. And so one of my colleges here in, LA asked if anyone would come teach, at a jail. And so I needed money, and I said yes. And it's turned into like one of the best teaching experiences of my life. And so, yes, this is in the show. And it's in many ways, it's been just very interesting because I used to not talk about my personal life as a professor in any way. And because when I first started, I didn't have hair and I had sores on my face and I have to have a barf bag with me at all times. So I, shared with them that I have stage 4 cancer, and it's just been an interesting experience because like they really worry about me, and I don't have this part in the show so I could talk about it, but many of them in their assignments, write about how when they want to feel sorry for themselves, they think about me. And,
wow.
It's kind of funny, but it's like, okay, well, if that prevents you from when you get out from coming out, because they'll be like, I thought I had it bad, but this lady may die. And at least I have my health and maybe, I'll get out of here. So, it's just been, real. And, in a lot of ways too, I tell them, I don't know what it's like to be incarcerated, but, I do know what it's like to not have total control over your future. And, and so, we do, it's weird, have a lot in common because, I'm looking at a death sentence and a lot of them are actually looking at life sentences. And so we've kind of bonded and it's turned into this amazing experience. And, I joke about it in the show. They don't have cell phones or laptops, so I have their undivided attention. I am a psychology professor, so some of the stuff I talk about, stress, memory, trauma, mental health issues, how to not be angry, what anger does to your body. And they all have stories about this stuff. And so, they're really receptive to the information, and it makes for amazing class lectures. And, it's just turned into this amazing thing, and I'm still doing it. And, I learn a lot from them because, they have a lot of them are there for drug charges. And, I share in the show, I've never done drugs. And, so I've just learned a lot from them. A lot of them have done jobs. Like one guy, those big cranes, when they build 80-story buildings, he's the crane operator. I've never known someone that drives those cranes, and an elevator repairman, and, gang members. I never hung out with gang members before. So this, just all different types of people, and we all connect. And so it's just been this really amazing experience. And again, I'm so glad I have something to do. Most people I know with stage 4 cancer are on disability, but I still have to work. And so I just think too, doing comedy and teaching, I don't really have a lot of time to sit around and feel sorry for myself, or even if I physically feel bad, I still have to do my job. And I don't know, maybe I would imagine this has helped me in just so many ways in my cancer journey as well.
So where can people go to the Fringe show? Where can people go to learn more about you? Plug away.
So thank you for this. And I appreciate you, coming to the show. You are one of the first comedy friends I made in LA. So I appreciate you so much, Ron. You are so talented. I feel very honored that you're, giving me this platform. So I have my last show is going to be Sunday, June 29th at the Hudson at 4:30 p.m. And it's called I Blame Florida. So I hope you'll come. My Instagram is Kelly Spillman 3322. And so reach out to me, DM me. I'm happy to give you tickets. I would love to sell out my last show and share my story with you. So.
Well, Kelly, it's first of all, it's an absolute honor to know you, and your show was wonderful. I'm so glad I could be there. And thank you so much for doing this.
This has been a blast. Thanks, Ron.
That was Kelly Spillman. Check out her show at the Hollywood Fringe. If you are in Los Angeles, please check out her show at the Hollywood Fringe and check out Termination Fee. If you got time for both, please do it. Very, very, very heavy stuff, but an incredible story. And wishing her all the absolute best. Music for the 1000 Podcast is provided by Andrew Saxena. Be sure to check out his podcast, the Baywatching Podcast, wherever you get your podcast. Leave us a 5-star review, would you? This is still a very, very new show in the scheme of things, and every 5-star review helps. Tell your friends. You know how it goes. If you want to support the show on the sustainability end, you can do so over patreon.com/Ron Placone. For a Give What You Can level, you get exclusive content, full stand-up clips not available anywhere else, information about upcoming films and projects before the public knows about it, and we have a community Zoom hang once a month. It's a really, really cool hang with other creative, like-minded people. It's a lot of fun, and that's all for a Give What You Can level. $1 a month, all it takes. Patreon.com/Ron Placone. All right. 1993. What was going on in 93? Nirvana released In Utero. I already gave a Nirvana shout out with Nevermind, but In Utero came out, which is a very wonderful Nirvana, right? We got to try to get all of the remaining members on the show. I mentioned that already too, but Chris, Dave, Pat, going to try to get all of them. Going to try to get Chad Channing, maybe even Jason Everman. You know, we're going to roll with it. We actually have a Seattle music-centric episode coming up. Got to stay tuned for that one. 1993. My baseball career was almost over, actually. I peaked in Little League around 92. And then once it got to fast pitch, I just didn't connect as much, literally and figuratively. All right. See you next week. Peace. Hey guys, Ron Placone here. Take your own 1,000 challenge. No, you don't need to interview 1,000 people, although if you want to do that, go for it. Your 1,000 challenge can be whatever you want. Maybe you want to call a friend out of the blue once a week. Maybe you want to read a book every month. Maybe you want to start a different garden every season. I guess that might be dependent on where you live. Look, the point of the challenge is taking on an endeavor that enriches your life in some way, and it can be measured. And then, of course, you do it regularly. That's what 1,000 is doing for me, and hopefully for you too. The main reason for this podcast and every podcast I've ever done is to build community. So take your own challenge. Then join our Facebook group. It's called 1,000 What's Your Challenge? ? That's 1,000 What's Your Challenge ? And post about what your 1,000 challenge is and the progress you're making. All I ask is that people be encouraging of each other's challenges. This is personal and vulnerable, so be cool. There's enough negativity on social media. We don't need to add to it. For those of you who aren't on Facebook, hopefully in the future we'll be expanding to places like Discord, Reddit, but for now, we're starting on Facebook. And again, that Facebook group is called 1,000 What's Your Challenge? See you there.